All right, welcome, guys. Here we are today. This is the beginning of something that everybody wanted to have the experience in having. Now, today, we're going to make sure that all of you entrepreneurs get the opportunity to learn exactly what it takes to bring money and funding into your venture. And today, we will get directly into that. And hopefully, you stay tuned because you're going to learn the ABCs and the differentials between 501c3s and grants. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself as I will my guest. My name is Eric Bradley, and we open opportunities up for the entrepreneurs out here today. And today we're bringing on one of the sharpest women in this industry of nonprofits. Today, we welcome Antowanna Carpenter.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. And I wanted to make sure I got you in here before I got going, and the importance of making sure that people realize what you're representing. And what we're representing is the company that will help circumvent those who come through people like yourself, is who we're sponsored by, Jab Juice social media. And what they're doing is simplifying the process of it so that you will know how to become as important as your business by utilizing your personal brand as your power, as your message. Your personal brand is your thumbprint on the industry in which you work. But when you step outside and you build your personal brand, it takes you across all platforms. So whatever you specialize in, you can specialize in that in any industry. So that's why it's so important to nullify that old voice that you had and start listening to your 2 a.m. voice and get invested in your personal brand. And that's what your app juice does better than anyone in the game today. So today we welcome our special guest who's coming up here to really share everything that she knows about opening up the world of grants and funding businesses through 501c3s. Antowanna Carpenter, welcome
Thank
to
you.
Eric
Thank
Bradley
you.
Live. That's right.
I'm so excited to talk about one of my favorite subjects.
No doubt. We're
501c3.
we're excited to host you here. So, like I said before, what we wanted to know is kind of, first of all, how did you get to this place where this was something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah,
Many years ago, back in 2004, maybe a little earlier than that, I
yeah.
was at a basketball game and a friend of
Hmm.
mine came over and said, "Hey, I want to start a nonprofit. And I was wondering, can you help me?" And I said, well, sure. I'm good at writing and I'm good at administrative stuff. So I went over to their house and sat at their
Hmm.
kitchen table. And back in those days, everything was pencil paper, and we completed their 501c paperwork. And
Yeah,
I'll tell you a bit more about that. Snail mail, we put it in the mail. They received their approval. And then they
yeah.
told their friend, and I drove over to their kitchen table, sat down, and that's how it started. And after a while, I was like, I think
Wow,
this is a business, it's a need. So that's how I got started many years ago.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, with them, that's an interesting way to approach it because you kind of just that's who you are, your DNA. You know how to do first paperwork. People really don't like paperwork, and number two, detailed paperwork. Dealing with government stuff is
Yeah.
the second hardest thing for people to get up for in the morning. So, hats off for you to for taking that route. Now, the question that I have to ask is exactly what is a 501c3 so the people out here won't, overlook the fundamentals of what it actually is and what could it do for you?
Okay. All right. Good question. So basically, a 501c3 is an exempt
Hmm.
status that is given to you by the Internal Revenue Service. And you may ask, well, exempt from what? Exempt from paying taxes on income. And one of the interesting things about it is that number on the back has many numbers as it relates to the Internal Revenue Service. So
Yeah.
you can have a 501(c)(1) through 29, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 29. But most
Oh,
people are familiar with the 501(c)(3),
so why
which
is
is,
it most popular?
well, it's most popular because it's set aside for like charities and religious entities. And that number depends on where you can get your money from, also. So
Hmm.
there are all types
Okay.
of nonprofits. There are nonprofit banks, there are nonprofit schools, nonprofit
Yeah.
cemeteries,
Wow.
fraternities, sororities, nonprofits, and all those numbers determine. But that three is based on you being a charity and you're able to get money from the public as well as grant
Yeah.
funding. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Before people get them, do you have to make it clear to them, you got to make sure you have your checks and balances in order. You just can't just take money, spend it, and what are some of the alarms and things that you triggers you have to make sure that they're clear on before they go
That's
off and just start.
that's a good question. One of the major things in order to be considered a 501(c)(3), which also is known as a nonprofit entity, is that you
Yeah,
have to have a vision that's for the betterment of the community. So I get a
okay.
lot of questions about what's the difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit. And a
Yeah,
for-profit is pretty much for personal gain. You can buy one, you can sell one, you can, take it public. So those are for-profit entities. Nonprofit organizations are for the betterment
hmm,
of the community. And one of the major advantages is that you don't have to pay taxes on income. But the difference is you also do not own one. You can be a founder of one, but you do not
oh,
own one and you can't sell one or buy one. So those are the differences between the for-profit and nonprofit entities.
wow. So you can't own it, you can just be the founder.
Yep.
Okay, that's strange.
Yep.
So just say, for instance, like I have a one of our coaches is his Urban Warriors, and it's a boxing gym, and he's gotten an investor to come on board, but he owns that. So if he were to actually apply for a 501(c)(3) or a grant, I mean, how would that work since he owns that business? What does he have to do to assure funding
Good question.
if he owns
So
something? Yeah.
I have many clients over the years that have for-profits. As a matter of fact, I just want to say this and then I'm gonna answer your question. So
Okay.
almost any large company, for-profit company that you can think of has a
Yeah.
nonprofit on its back end.
Okay.
Anybody from Apple to Google to Procter and Gamble, IBM, Petco, Walmart, Target, you name them. They're large companies. They have nonprofits. So to answer
Wow.
your question, many for-profit companies have this nonprofit leg. But let's just say you have this boxing entity and you would like
Mm-hmm.
to start a nonprofit. So the way that we would structure that is you want to take
Mm-hmm.
it parallel to your for-profit. So it becomes its own entity.
Okay.
You have to
Okay.
keep the money separate. You have to keep everything separate, even though you
Mm-hmm.
can donate from your for-profit to your nonprofit. And you may want to set a nonprofit up. For an example, there are quite a few nonprofit boxing companies that are out there, and they may set it
Yeah.
up aside to help the youth, for an example, to keep
Yeah.
them, from getting in trouble or have something to do after school or train them as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. And you have your
Mm-hmm.
for-profit company, and then you would set up a nonprofit entity, which is it's in the same
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this will allow donors to give to help support the community, and then you're setting it up for the betterment of the community to help the youth. And that would be an example of, how you could actually do both entities.
Oh, wow. So you definitely need to have your ducks in a row. Do you guys kind of help with a little bit of coaching if a
Oh yeah.
person, okay, okay.
Hmm.
I was wondering because that could become a slippery slope. Nonprofit, you're getting funding, and then you just don't know how to operate. I think I got a guy up here real quick. Yeah, Coach Larry Barker. And then
Yeah.
another thing, like, do a lot of people like hire bookkeepers when they start to get this money? Because for one, what is the most amount that you've seen someone acquire if you keep relationships with your people? That just speak to how many people want to fund 501c3. Speak to that better. Like from your experiences, there are people that are looking to fund those individuals. Speak to those type people who are typically the people that look to fund those 501c3s, or I mean the grants and things like that. Just
Yeah.
speaking in general term.
Okay, so we're talking about funding. One of the things as a nonprofit organization, well, first of all, I want to make this clear, and I tell all my clients, listen, one of the biggest myths out there is that nonprofits can't make money, and I'm like, are you
Yeah,
serious? Like, because
yeah,
how you cannot run a business without money. Well, I
yeah.
want to let you
Yeah.
know there are $1 billion with a B nonprofits that are out there. Okay, $1 billion
Billion
and
dollar.
billion-dollar nonprofits. Okay.
Yeah,
So I want to kind of get that myth out of people's mind. And I always
yes.
say, well, maybe it shouldn't be called nonprofit. It just should be called not for personal gain, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
nonprofit, but you can make money. The biggest thing is diversify, diversify, diversify. You have to diversify your income. And I'm going to try
yeah,
to make this simple. The same thing that a for profit company can do. Okay, so far as making money, a nonprofit can
yes.
do. You can do
Okay,
fundraisers, you can sell products, you can have memberships, you can
okay,
build insurance, you can have donors, you can have charity events, you can have capital campaigns, and you can have
yes,
grants. So, a combination of all of these, you can have a pay for service. Okay,
yeah.
the biggest advantage is you don't pay taxes on income. All right, that's the biggest thing.
Wow.
So, if you're $1 million donor and you
Yes,
receive that income, you don't pay taxes on the income. Now you pay taxes on payroll taxes, you pay
okay,
taxes on sales taxes if you sell products, okay?
yeah,
But you do not pay for income that comes in.
okay. See,
And I'd
those
like
are
to give
slippery things. Go ahead.
yeah, and you have to keep them separate from your for-profit entities. You
Yeah,
have to. You can be
yeah,
audited at any time. But if you keep your books in order, that shouldn't be an issue at all.
yeah.
And I
Well, I
like to
see.
mm,
No,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. I like to
No,
give
go
an
ahead.
example that a lot of
Go
people
for it.
can relate to. One of them is the
Mm,
Goodwill. Okay, they're a nonprofit. They're one of the
mm.
billion-dollar nonprofits out there. And then those
Wow.
Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies.
Thin
I would
Mint
tell
Girl
my
Scouts.
clients, yeah, I'm just saying the Thin Mint. That's what a lot of
Wow.
people use Girl
Yeah.
Scout.
I mean, who thinks about that?
The Girl
But
Scouts.
would you say that there is there's an avid advantage for people who are getting in the know about what a nonprofit is and how can it benefit you, and like getting this knowledge, it really makes it, because some people just are so clueless, they just kind of go with the assumption. would
Mhm.
you would you advise more people who own businesses to learn about how to benefit from nonprofit? What do you say to that?
Absolutely. Uh,
Yeah,
I believe every for-profit company should have a nonprofit leg to it. All right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
because ultimately, we're going to make money as for-profit entities, but ultimately, what are we
yes,
doing for the community? And this
yeah,
allows us to be able to give back into our communities. I was saying a few minutes ago, the Girl Scouts, for an example, a lot of people, I was talking to one of my clients last night, actually, did
yeah.
not know that the Girl Scouts themselves are a nonprofit organization. And what do they
Wow.
sell? They sell cookies, they sell uniforms, they have different ways that they raise money, but they are also giving back into the community through training and learning and
Yeah,
things of that sort.
yeah,
But even at, like I said, in the boxing community, you could give
Hmm.
back, even though you have a for-profit, set a nonprofit up, and
Yeah.
it enables you to not only receive large
Yeah.
donations or even small donations, but it also allows you to serve those who need service the most within the community.
Yeah. That's really obvious to people who are in the know, but for people who don't really aren't around people like yourself, because it's not like a lot of people that you come across to say, yeah, I do 501c3 work. My company specializes in that category. And
Mhm.
so it's so you're a category of one because I've seen you work, and
Mhm.
I knew that if there were more people out there like yourself, that there'd be more people with 501c3s and knowing how to utilize them, because how efficient your work was. It was just like you turned that work, like you spoke to it at the beginning of this podcast.
Mhm.
And with that being said, that's what's missing. More people like you need to be cloned, because you understand this deeply. How long have you
Yes.
been doing this kind of work?
Over 20 years.
See?
I've worked inside of nonprofits and worked for nonprofits, and I sat on
Wow.
board of nonprofits, written grants in
Yeah.
the millions to help nonprofits. And I have my own company that helps build nonprofit organizations.
Wow.
But a
Wow.
lot of people want to know like how difficult it is. It's really not that difficult. And we do offer
Yeah.
coaching for
Yeah.
those. We specialize in those who just have the vision to want to start, but they're like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
But we really do offer the coaching to kind of help hold your hand to help you get
Yeah.
started in the nonprofit arena.
Yeah, because if they begin, they'll get discouraged for sure, right? you, you're,
Many of
you're
them
definitely
do,
going to.
and I think they get discouraged because just the lack of knowledge and how to build it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because many of them have for-profit entities, and they build those very well, but they kind of struggle a little bit with the nonprofit piece of
Yeah.
it, even though it can
Yeah.
be built the exact same way. It just has to
Hmm.
be for the betterment of the community.
You know what? You're right. And guess what? I got a question, and it's kind of on the topic, but it kind of is not, in a way. But there are people that I've known that say, I had a nonprofit. I've had one for like 18 years, but they don't know how to get money. They don't make themselves noticeable enough or make it obvious enough that they do it. What advice would you give people who are going to get one because of this show, and they're going to get one, or they have one and they just have not had the courage or the wherewithal to get funding? What is a tip that you can give people who are in that status, because there are a lot of people that have them and not using them?
For sure. Well, for number one, you have to be known. So you have to do the marketing. You have to let
Yeah.
people know that you're out there. You
Yeah.
want to make sure you do things in excellence. You want to make sure that you network within your community to let them know that you're there. And
Okay.
then once again, you're gonna have to set up a budget. It's just like you do for a for-profit entity. You want to make sure
Yes.
that you diversify whenever you set your
Okay.
budget up in the various different things that you're doing. But the number one thing is to get we have to know you're there. And once you connect with the resources and others, then it will help you as you're growing, your nonprofit organization.
Yeah. See
Many of times
that?
I have people,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
No, 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 go ahead.
many of times I
Go
have
ahead.
people, a lot of times they come to me and they say, I need a grant to fund my nonprofit. And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Grants should really be only 33% of your budget. That's an estimate. Some years it could be more, some less.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a part of the diversified income that you have for your nonprofit organization. With that
Ah,
being said, there are what's called capped capacity building grants that are out there that help
Yeah.
nonprofits when they're first starting. But the way that
Really
grants work is they're
explain.
funded one program and or project at a time. So most grantors are not going to fund your entire agency. They want to
Yeah.
see that you have sustainability beyond them.
Okay. I
Yep.
get it. They don't want you to be just kind of crippled, and money could be the barrel of all weakness. You can get weaker the more success you have with that money, and then you're not building and incorporating. I have a question or a statement from Larry Barker. He said his Urban Warrior Academy, he was under the impression that you couldn't own a business and have a nonprofit. Yeah, he said this is amazing. Obviously, why? Good one. That's a good one. See,
Yeah.
this is a big deal because this is what people are under the assumption of, so they don't try when they have LLCs or whatever, C corps or S corps or whatever, because they
Yeah.
don't think you can have one or both.
Yes.
So
Yes, you can have both. And the interesting part is when we go to apply for the EIN, which is it's kind of like a social security number for your
yeah,
nonprofit. There's an
yes,
area that you can check to say that I am applying for my nonprofit as a business. So you can connect your
yeah,
LLC to your nonprofit, or you can file your nonprofit as an individual. So,
yes,
yes, you can do that. There's a certain way that we do structure your paperwork when you're doing that, because the
okay,
IRS kind of gives us a little, they don't really want you sitting on both boards. So we
yes,
coach
yes,
you in the things that you need to do when we do that for you. But yes, you can have a church and have a nonprofit. You can have a for profit and have a nonprofit. The
okay,
majority of
wow,
large companies have
yes.
nonprofits on the back end.
You see now you're I think you're getting people's mouths wet because there are a lot of people who own gyms or businesses here, entrepreneurs. We got over 1 million people like visually. So why would I consider starting one? What are the pros and cons for me saying, yo, I'm going to start one? You've named a lot of different reasons or benefits, but as an isolated question, why would a person start one? Because there's somebody watching right now. It's one person only, I'm sure, that just wants to do it, but they can't figure out that one benefit that would tip them over to say, that's it, I'm doing it. What are a couple of things that why would a person really want to do it?
Good question. Well, the first thing we look for when our clients come on is, what is the purpose of you starting this company?
Yeah.
And the number one thing is it has to be for the betterment of the community. So you want to start it to help others, okay, based on your business, your skill set, those that you hire, the programs and services that you offer has to be for the betterment of the community. All right, that's
Okay.
number one.
That's
And then
big.
that's the
That's
reason
big.
why.
That's big.
And when we submit those applications, that's what the IRS is looking for. Is this a legit? Are they sick? Are
Yeah.
they wanting to do this for the community?
Yeah.
And then one of the major benefits is that you don't pay taxes on your income, on income that comes in, and it's tax deductible for those who give.
Now I know
So
you did. No, back at the beginning, you told them what you do pay taxes on. Could you repeat that again, like you spoke at the beginning of
sure,
this? Go ahead.
sure. So you don't pay taxes on income that comes in. Okay, so anyone who donates to your organization for the betterment of the community, you don't have to pay taxes on. Okay, but you do have to
Hmm.
pay payroll taxes. So, for an
Okay.
example, you can get paid in your nonprofit. You can be a W
Uh,
two. You can be an employee.
so
Okay,
you can be an employee and
you can be an employee, you can hire people to be employees. You want that, right? That's how you run a
So I can
company.
hire my son. I can hire
You
my
can
son to be
hire
an
it now.
employee.
You can hire people to work. Now you
You
want to
hear
put that
people?
in. You
Get
can hire
smart.
people. So you do have to have what's called a conflict of interest and bylaws. We'll talk you through that.
Okay.
But you can hire people to work for you. You want to do that. You have volunteers, but when you
Yeah.
do that, you have to pay payroll taxes, just like a normal business.
Yeah.
So you have to
Hmm.
do that.
Is it worth that?
And
No, I'm just payroll taxes.
uh,
I'm gonna keep
yeah,
all this bag.
yep. So you have to pay the payroll taxes, and but you don't have to pay taxes on donations that come in. And if you sell
Okay.
something, if you sell pens or jackets or books, or
Yeah.
music, whatever you sell, those cookies that they sell with Girl Scouts, do you have to pay
Oh yeah.
sales tax? But in some of the
Hmm.
states, they even allow
That's
you to get that sales tax money back that you have to file
wow.
quarterly. So as
Okay.
a
So
nonprofit,
you
though, you have
so
to
yeah,
be a nonprofit.
that's what I was gonna say. They file quarterly. You gotta want to keep that stuff from getting messy. So you file quarterly and stay on top of it. Great question from Lorenzo Waters. He said, does your for-profit and your nonprofit have to have different names? What that potentially trigger an audit? But
Oh my
do
goodness,
they have
that's
to
a
have different names?
you're on point with that question. That's a good question. The answer is yes.
Yeah, yeah. Good
And
one,
you have
Lorenzo.
Yeah, that's a good one. So you have to have two separate names because just
Yeah,
think about this. Your for-profit entity is its own entity, right? Your
yeah,
nonprofit
yeah.
is going to be a separate entity, separate employer identification number, also known as an EIN. Everything has to
Okay.
be separate. So that EIN is like a social security number. So you have to have a
Yes.
separate name that separates you from your for-profit. And some people get
Wow.
creative. They'll use their for-profit and then put outreach on the end or put services on the end, to kind of keep it close.
Yeah,
One of my clients
yeah.
recently swapped the names. Her first became
Oh,
the
that's
last and
smart.
last the first. It just happened to work out that it made sense in both ways. So you can get
Yeah.
creative, but that answer is
Yes.
yes.
And I think that is good. That is where good coaching comes in. So thankfully you got coaching services because it's these little tricks that I've seen very, very experienced businessmen use when rolling things under their trust and making sure that
Yeah,
they hire people that are in their family, and
right.
doing little things to play the game that the system's playing with you. The banking
Mhm.
system's playing with you, the government's playing with you. So having coaching really levels the playing field in your
Mhm.
favor. Would you say that?
Yeah. Yes, yes, we do coaching. And one of the things when you're talking about how in the for-profit arena, there are little tricks and things you can do. I wouldn't necessarily call this a trick, but I would say that it's important that nonprofits also understand endowments. I won't go into detail, but at least consider setting up
Mm-hmm.
endowments, which will allow funding to
Okay.
come in and continue to come in off of interest and things of that sort, which could also help you as you're building. Many nonprofits
Wow.
think that it takes tons of money to set up an endowment, but just consider or think about it once you are
Yeah.
building it or raising money for your
Yeah.
nonprofit to do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because don't
Yeah.
you think once you start getting the rhythm going with people wanting to fund that, it starts to really, you start to say, hey, what we want to do is make sure we partner with people that matter to us. We know how to get the money coming in now. What advice would you give for people after this question? What advice would you give to people that have options of people just coming? What are some good characteristics to look for when people want to donate money? Because, sometimes people want favors or something like that. Has there ever been a situation that happened where you say, hey, look for these red flags when people want to donate?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
um, yeah, so there's some no-nos that happen
Okay.
with nonprofit organizations, with favors. You want to have integrity when you're running these
Yeah.
organizations because you're a part of the community and you will
Yeah.
be connected, with the federal You can be connected with your state, the city, the county. You can,
Yeah.
look forward to getting contracts and things of that sort. So one of the biggest things that you want to do is make sure that you have integrity. When
Yeah.
donors give, they need to understand that they are given to a nonprofit organization. It is a
Yeah.
tax write-off for them,
Yes.
okay, for
Yes.
them to take to their CPA.
Yes.
But in addition, they're helping with the betterment of the community.
Yeah.
Now with
Yeah.
that being said, they can earmark money, okay? And
Mm.
that's basically saying, hey, if I donate 100,000 to your organization, I want to make sure that this money only goes to the youth or
They
scholarships,
want to
okay?
control. Yeah.
They can, okay? They can
Yeah.
ask
Well,
to
yeah.
earmark that money for scholarships. And it's up to the board of directors for a nonprofit whether or not how you're going to accept that.
Yes.
Um,
Wow. That's
so
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So within a nonprofit, you need uh, a vision, of course, bylaws, which are basically the law of the land. You need conflict of interest in case you have things that come about that are a conflict that you understand it. It's okay with your board. You
Yeah.
need an EIN, state articles, and you'll need a board of directors. Okay.
Board of
And those,
directors. Do you pay
yep.
them?
No, they're normally on a volunteer basis for your
Okay.
nonprofit. That's a good question. A volunteer
Well,
basis for your nonprofit, but it's normally a prestige um,
yeah.
uh, place to have, something to have that you can do to say, "Hey, I help with the community as it relates to this nonprofit." And you'll need an odd number, 357,
Yeah.
uh, odd number, and no family members.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just got added to one, which is a good one. Is dealing with CTE and retired athletes who need funding and need support and stuff like that. Big,
Yeah.
big organization, but they just kind of stuck me in there. And was like, that's the thing. It's like, so if someone does do it, make sure you have the same morals aligned and purpose,
For sure.
because
For sure.
yeah, definitely.
That's a
Well,
big question. I get that a
this
lot.
this young man, Berto, wanted to know, he was pretty much saying that, going back to the naming it different, he's saying, so you're able to do something like Master A and Master B, where B is the nonprofit and A of obviously is the profit. So you want to keep the names congruent. You want to keep them so people do understand that,
Yeah,
because
you
I have Master Boxing LLC, Master Boxing Systems, Master Boxing Academy. So it's just different layers. So
yeah,
yeah, I'll let
do
her
like a
answer
master
that.
boxing outreach or,
Yeah,
you can make it congruent. Or my biggest thing
yeah,
is when you're setting a nonprofit, you want to make sure that it's easy to market, kind of like a regular for-profit entity.
yes,
Especially when you start going into the grant field, you want to make it
yes,
easy to remember. Okay. And you
mm-hmm,
want to make it, if you're looking at expanding it, for an example, a homeless outreach nonprofit. Okay. So we know
okay,
that's a homeless outreach. But let's just say 5 years down the road, you and your board of directors would like to add youth or elderly
yeah,
or, or educational component to it. And you've named
yeah,
it homeless outreach. So you want to
mm,
think about a little bit further down the road. If you're looking at growing the nonprofit,
yeah,
then you'll want to make it a little bit more opening for an opportunity to grow, okay, within
yeah,
that name ahead of time.
yeah.
But
I
yeah, you
see,
can do.
I see.
Mhm. Yeah.
I see what you're saying, because you can be excited and get going and not even be thinking about the future. Everybody's already thinking like today only. Whereas
Mhm.
I now know that, people who do real business, they're thinking 20 years out. You're thinking long
Mhm.
game. So
Yep.
I guess
Long
it would help that. And this is so important, why I try to explain to people how important it is to have coaching, because
time.
these are mistakes you're going to make 100% without fail. You're going to make mistakes. You're going
Yeah.
to, name wise, you're only going to be thinking of now. You're never going to be thinking about down the road, and
Yeah.
you want money coming in, so you'll get desperate and let anyone try to control your entity with their money. And so you don't know how to say no. our morals don't align.
Yeah.
And these kind of things. So with that being said, thanks. Here's another one. Now, do you need a 501c3 to get a grant?
Oh, good question. No, you don't need a 501c to get a grant.
See, y'all go
There
get that
are
money, yo.
Yeah. I get a lot of grant questions, a whole lot of grant questions. And
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
sure.
qualify for grant funding as a for-profit entity. The answer
Okay.
is yes. There are a
Okay.
lot of more opportunities nowadays than it used to be. With that being
Wow.
said, it is also limited. Okay. So when you're looking at for profit grant funding, then you're looking at like SBA.gov,
Hmm.
grants.gov. There are many corporations that are out there that will give grants to for profit entities. The biggest
Ah,
thing, and this is for profit and nonprofit, is that you need to make sure that your mission matches their mission. It's something that they're interested in funding. Okay. And then
okay.
look at the guidelines. So that's where you can
Mm,
find for-profit grant funding. And a lot of
okay.
people get a little frustrated because it is not as abundant as for-profit nonprofit entities. Okay.
Ah,
So when you're in that nonprofit arena, it opens up doors for a lot more grant opportunities.
yeah.
Um, so you can go with the federal government, with nonprofits. You can go with the state. You can go with the county. You can go with the city. You can go with
Yeah.
corporations. You can go with foundations. And there are
Is
billions
there
and billions of dollars that are out there for
and
that
the
funding.
answer that is there a place where nonprofits are listed? Like just say, for instance, if you join the Chamber of Commerce,
Mhm.
is that a good move for someone with a nonprofit to get into a strong network of business owners and people who are investor types? Would you
Oh yeah.
recommend that?
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce, any other type of business associations. There are nonprofit associations throughout the United States. There's a
Yeah.
national one, and then you'll have local nonprofit associations. So the goal is to get connected. You want to get yourself connected. You want to get yourself networked. You want to get yourself
Yeah.
coaching. You want
Yeah.
to utilize all of these resources to help you as you're building. And the interesting
Okay.
thing is, when you are applying for grant funding, you could be a
Hmm.
sub grantee. So you could have a larger nonprofit apply for a grant and you offer a
Hmm.
certain amount of services that they need in that grant, and they can attach you with a memorandum of understanding to do services, and you can still get paid within that grant funding. So there are all
Oh,
kinds of ways, but you need to connect yourself to the community so that they know
yeah.
that you're out there and that you get those
Yeah.
opportunities to do that. Mhm.
Yeah, that's a powerful thing. Knowing that's, I guess it's just about knowing how to get your face out there and talk
Yeah.
about what it is you do, or be so good that people, hear about it at the same time. So you got to lean into kind of who you are, what you do, what your brand is, and stuff. Now, I got a question, and this is mine.
Okay.
How fast of a turnaround could a person apply for a grant and get it? What is some real astronomical quick numbers? Like, so these people don't think this takes 4 years, like a college degree. Like, what is the turnaround on average for the typical individual that's going to get accepted? They actually have something in place and they're operating. What would you say the expected time ETA is?
You said for grant funding?
Yeah, just for grant
Yeah,
funding, just
for
the
grant
turnaround
funding.
time for people.
Well, there is no there is no
Time period.
direct time period. Like it depends. So I will tell you every grantor is different. There are some that you
Okay.
can get within 30 days, and there's some that
Mm-hmm.
takes months before they can even get an
Okay.
approval. So, but
Yeah.
the good thing about it is once you receive a grant, let's just say from the county,
It's
then
easier
you'll
to.
kind of you'll kind of it's easy to get another one, and you'll kind of
Mhm.
know their time frame, how long it takes. You can talk in the community. Hey, I applied for ABC Foundation grant. How long does it normally take them? Sometimes they'll
Yeah.
tell you, Sometimes they
Yeah.
won't. You don't know. It just depends. So
I,
there is no direct answer for that.
no. Okay. Let's just say this young man here, he's asking. So he said, what are some prerequisites you need to have in order before starting a nonprofit? So what are the prerequisites you'll need in order before starting one? And then I'll ask my question
Okay.
before starting another.
So the first thing you need is a vision. Okay. You need a vision and a mission. And we do help with
Mm-hmm.
mission statements and things of that sort. By the way, they need to be 1 to 2 sentences. I just want to put that in there. So you need a
Boom.
vision. Boom.
Pro tip. Pro tip.
Yeah. Not a page, 1 or 2
Yeah,
sentences. Okay.
I get it.
And so you need a vision, for what, and I always say, walk me a lot of times when I meet with my clients, walk me through a typical day at your nonprofit. Okay. So that kind of gives
Yeah.
them a mind. Okay, well, this is your imagination on what
Yeah.
your thoughts is and how it's going to work. So you need to first have a vision for the community. Okay. The next
Mm-hmm.
thing is you need to think about who you would like to help you. Okay. Your board of directors. Okay. 3,
Yeah.
5, 7. You need an odd number for voting purposes. Okay. And
Yeah.
then you need to think about how are you going to fund this nonprofit. Okay. So you need to put an
Yeah.
estimated budget together. And it don't make it complicated. Just think about
Yeah.
every piece of supply or person that you would like and go big. Like think
Go
about it in a
big.
large term. Yeah. Think about your
Yeah.
nonprofit as if money was not an issue and you want to be as
Yeah.
big as you can
Yeah.
in helping this
Yeah.
community outreach with your vision. And then you just begin to start and put down exactly how much is needed to fund it. You start with your
Yeah.
expenses, and then you can think about what does it take to do that. You'll need
Wow. That
bylaws. Uh-huh.
so
Bylaws.
you'll
And
help.
we have
You know how to
sample
help people with
bylaws.
that.
Yep, we have sample bylaws, sample conflict of interest to help you. You need your state articles as well
Okay.
as the IRS 501(c)(3). So a lot of people think, oh, I have my state nonprofit articles, I'm done. And the answer is you're not finished. You have to have
Yeah.
your state articles, and then you apply for your 501(c)(3) with the IRS, and that's when they give you your exempt status.
Well, that is clear. So tell me this: what are some mistakes people make who don't hire someone like yourself? They just try to get out there and do it on their own. And do you know, see people get kind of like denied because of what they don't know about applying for one? Elaborate.
That's a good question. So many of the mistakes is they don't separate them. You have to make sure it's separated from any other entity. When I'm
Yeah.
talking about your books now. Okay, you need to do it in excellence. You need to make sure
Yes.
that you're branding yourself, just like you brand for profit. You need to brand for a nonprofit. Okay,
Yeah.
you need to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with other people, that you're networking. Okay, that
Hmm.
people know that you are out there. All right. You want to make sure that's done. One of the
Yeah.
largest mistakes that's made now is nonprofits are not completing what's called their 990. And a 990 is like a tax return, but it's not. It is an information return that the IRS requires every year, whether you make no money or whether you make $1 billion.
Ah,
You have to complete this 990 each year. And if
okay.
you go 3 consecutive years without completing it, you lose it. You lose your status. And when I tell you,
Wow.
if you lose your
It
status, the
happens
IRS can go back and make you start paying taxes on income.
all those
So
years.
all those years. So you don't want to lose your status when you can simply file that 990. We do have that service also, but you can simply file your 990 each year to make sure that you do not lose it. Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So with that being said, that is juicy stuff. You got to be clear what when someone comes in, and if they aren't really in the know and they don't really have concepts of what they are trying to do, they kind of have an idea. Do
Mhm.
you help mold and sculpt it so they will get the 501c3 based on what you're showing and guiding them? Because success rate is important. So
Mhm.
could a person who's not versed and this is all like Chinese checkers to them, could you say, all right, you come in and we're going to show you how to get this, and you can pretty much assure that they can get it?
Absolutely. So we do have a
Okay.
100% approval rating with the Internal Revenue Service.
Boom. Mind blown.
We have 100% approval rate. I am also certified with the Internal Revenue Service to do these type of forms. But what we do is we walk you through the process. I will tell you that the IRS could come back. Like, let's say you would
Hmm.
submit the form. A lot of people do it on their own. The IRS
Yeah.
will come. They may come back and say, "Hey, I need you to clarify this," because they're making sure that you are really for the betterment of the community. And we'll go
Yeah.
back and we'll do that if that's necessary. We do that all the
Yeah.
way until you get
Yeah.
the approval.
Yeah.
And
You're
yep,
ironclad. Yeah.
yep,
That's good.
yep. But
Yeah.
we'll
Because
give you the
you people.
steps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I say it, I kind of say it to individuals all the time. If you understood how much you don't know about what's out there and available to you, but what it takes to get it, if you did have any idea, you'd be on it right now. You'd be calling up these people. You'd be trying to get yourself coaching, because
Yeah,
when you start learning, would you agree or not disagree that
100%.
it changes your whole confidence level? You
Yeah,
really have that real internal built-in swag now. It is
yeah,
there because you have this knowledge, and knowledge applied properly is what?
power.
Power.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And that's what
Yes,
people are
it is.
lacking for the most part. The
Yeah.
confidence, the power, the swag, all of those things. If you
Mhm.
haven't had resources, this is a way to get resources, because if you're doing something awesome,
Yeah.
resources come.
And people want to
And
be a part of it.
people want to be a part of it, because number one reason why is because people and money follows value. Well, people are chasing money, you can't catch it because money is chasing value. So if you have
Mhm.
a 501c3, a nonprofit in your community, you're bringing so much value that
Yes.
other people can't get the money, because the money is chasing you, because you're
Yes.
bringing the value. Hence is why I said have your personal branding, because your mission is your thumbprint. And if
Yeah.
you got that going, you got your nonprofit going, you got an influx of money coming in, you got an influx of love, and you got just that magnet coming towards you. So this
Mhm.
was a powerful breakdown of the benefits of really having this nonprofit. I got another question. You got
Okay.
another question. So how hard is it to get approval?
Okay.
Simple.
So, that's a good question. It's not really
Hmm.
hard to get approved, but there are requirements. There are things that are required within the approval. And one of the things, once again, I can't say this enough. It has to be a vision or mission to serve the community at large. If it is
Hmm.
at if it is at if it
Yeah.
isn't, okay,
Yeah.
then it's not a nonprofit. That's some of the things we check for to make sure. I'll prompt questions just to make sure,
Okay.
hey, this needs to be a vision. Once again, you'll need board of directors, bylaws, conflict of
Mhm.
interest, EIN, state
Mhm.
articles, and a mission statement. And
Wow.
then there are a lot of other questions that go along depending on the type of entity that you want to start. For an
Yes.
example, we help schools, okay, and that has scholarships attached to them. So there are additional forms with that. So it depends on the type
Yeah.
of nonprofit that you are. So we'll
Yeah.
ask more questions and things of that sort as we move
Wow.
forward. But it is not that difficult, when
Yeah.
you kind of know the process of the
That's
application. Yeah.
yeah, that's good stuff. And my Mr. Rose says, loving this so far. You guys are awesome. Back at you. That's why
Thank
we
you.
bring the best of the best. We bring the best of the best in the world. The best of the
Yeah.
best in the world here. So
Yeah.
when you are all getting these individuals prepped, are you finding that they finally because I'm sure this is the tip of the iceberg for some people, that this nonprofit becomes their launching pad to what they're here to do on this planet. You see people that you're just proud of that they were able to accomplish this thing. I mean, tell me
Yeah.
some of the things that you experience when you feel it. I know helping people when I was a trainer, that I just, when people accomplished and their medical blood work and everything was changed, that's nothing like that. Or they won something big major. Tell me some of the things that you've experienced seeing in people's lives change based on them making this move and taking this step to get a 501c3.
Yeah. Eric, every time, and this is a true statement, every time a client comes to me, I get excited. Like I'm just
Yeah,
excited
yeah,
because many of them have personal, I've had clients where their spouse passed away. So what they wanted to do was set up a nonprofit on behalf of their spouse. One of my
yeah,
first clients, she had a son who was disabled, and one of her biggest concerns was that whenever she's gone, that someone will be able to take care of him. So she set
yeah.
up her company to make sure that there are others that are there. I've had people to set up schools and churches and
Yes,
all types of nonprofits that
yes.
will help veterans, that are coming back that may be suffering from PTSD or just need
Oh,
to be around other veterans,
yes,
veteran wives. I mean, just a lot of different
yeah,
nonprofits. We've helped set up a festival. Okay.
yes.
Where in essence they help the
Festival.
community when they do festivals. Yeah. So
Oh
it's just
man,
a
that's
joy
cool.
to get a chance to meet these people,
That's
that
awesome.
has all of this
Yeah,
passion to help the
yeah,
community. And many of it comes from like personal experiences or
yeah,
things that they've seen that is just a
yeah,
need, and
yeah,
so they go and feel it. And that's how they do
yeah.
it, by starting a nonprofit.
Well, I can tell you this, man. You really feel what you're doing. And I have another question that's from or a statement by a viewer. But
Mhm.
one of the things that people don't realize is to have a person like you that has an IQ like you do and smart and thorough, to have a person like you in a sector like this that actually care. You're not hard to talk to. You feel what they feel. You're a family member to them, and to have a person like this is an asset, you guys. You have to find people who've been to where you're trying to go, because success leaves clues. And when you do have that person, especially in a place like this that can actually change your life and is going to get down on all four knees to really make it happen for you,
Yeah.
that's absolutely rare, first.
Thank you.
And the fact that you can do that is you just have to really tip your cap and count your blessings and be thankful, because to have this person being the person between you and the level of success you could never imagine, man, that's what you call Fonzie thumbs up right there. Hey, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better person to do this. And not to make you smile harder, but this young man, he said, Antowanna, what is the name of your company? Where do we find you? And we're gonna
Mhm.
give you all of that. What's my person name? Faith. Faith, like that. That's a good
Okay.
name. Yeah,
Yeah.
Faith. We're
It's
gonna
grant.
put that on this
Okay. Grantinghope.com.
lady. Grantinghope.com. I'm gonna put it
Yeah.
all on this. I'm gonna put it
Okay.
on the screen so everybody, because one thing I wanted to propose to you is that could we, at the beginning of this year, 2024 in January, bring in some people and let them take part in a workshop of you kind of giving us some behind the scenes and go a little deeper with a few steps, and so they can get a bird's eye view? Would that be a possibility? Come on,
Absolutely.
Antoine.
Absolutely.
That's what's up. So
Count
that's
me in.
that's beautiful. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Boom. We already had it on the screen, and I'm gonna put
Oh,
and this is what we want you to do. If you want to take part, I want you to comment the word 2024 or the year 2024. Put that down here. And then I'm going to also put Antowanna's contact down here as well. So if I can get some help with that, because I got another question or a statement.
okay.
Uh, somebody else said this is Rising. I can hardly see that. Everett. Elevate. Oh, rise and elevate. That's a. I was about to question my grammar skills. Rise and elevate as please send your contact information. We're about to put it on the screen right now. So get that up on the screen. Give us the website, Antowanna, and we'll have that
Okay.
posted on the screen. I see some
Okay.
2024s popping up there. Everybody who's
Nice.
trying to take part in this is going to be
Yeah.
great. And make sure you do us a favor and check your inboxes because we're going to get your emails and numbers in there and make sure that you take part by giving you guys an email update of the date because this you think this was something. This was just the invitation. This is going to be mind blowing. granthope.com, and you can always contact Antowanna before that and make sure that I got this last thing to ask you too before I let you go.
Okay.
Now, so many of these individuals are right here. Just the feed is kind of flowing right now.
Okay.
What do you have in place if people want to refer people to you? Do you have like an affiliate kind of program
Yeah.
that? Okay,
Yeah.
share,
So yeah.
share,
Okay. If you go to
share.
grant, so if you go to grantinghope.com, you'll have to go to the bottom
Grand
of the
to
page.
hope.
Granting,
Oh,
GRANTING.
granting. Okay, I thought that was a different page.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Grantinghope.com. And you go to the
okay,
bottom of the page and you'll see where it says affiliate. Yep, that's it. Affiliate
okay,
program. And when you click on that link, you can join. It's free to join. And you
okay.
will receive your own links and you can share them to
Yeah,
others. And when you
yes.
share them, then we give you a percentage
No,
of, yep, yep.
make some real money. If you're gonna do
Yeah, you can
affiliate
make money.
stuff, do affiliate stuff where
In other
you
words,
can
you
actually
can make
make
money
money.
by
Yeah.
sharing just information. Yep,
See, beautiful. See, that's a
yep.
powerful thing. And that's what I want to leave that on because going into 2024, people need something to look forward to that they can say. So when you do your New Year's resolution, people, let me tell you to do it like this. See, this year, it's not going to be like last year because I'm not going to be looking for funding. I'm not going to be looking for blessings. I'm going to register with Antowanna. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to claim my blessing with my actions.
Yeah,
So 2024 is only going to go.
yeah,
2024, we can guarantee you this: you and your brand will soar because you're doing the right things. I was at a point in my life where I had the look of the person doing the things and I had the sound of the person doing things, but it wasn't until I start making the decisions that people at the highest level make. And that was get educated. And once I did that, everything that I had claimed in my mind started to come to fruition. And it was almost like I had to pinch myself because it just didn't feel fair because there were benefits and things that I had. And I told you earlier, just a few minutes ago, the level of confidence that a person embodies once things start happening to you that typically happen to other people. That's a powerful thing. You can start the year off doing that by basically typing 2024 or visiting Antowanna over there at grantinghope.com. That's
yeah,
how we do it. You claim it, you own it, you possess it in your body, you feel it inside of your body. And I told you all, once you start claiming things and acting on that, the sky's the limit.
yeah,
You understand and you get to feel what it feels like to be on top of the world. And people around you will totally embody that spirit and that energy. And you thinking you're going to get money before people will be throwing bags at you when you get that nonprofit and that grant. And you
yeah,
got somebody who knows how to do it. So no excuses. Elevate your game.
yeah.
Antowanna, this was great. I
Thank you
truly
so much.
appreciate you. I truly appreciate you doing
Thank
this.
you. Thank
And
you for
and
having me.
the service that you're offering people right now, there are people who are doing things for most people who own gyms are doing it because they want to help the community. Now, there's a different type person that invests in gyms, And then there's a person that starts the gym and they go in the gym and they're training and working with people and they want to change people one person at a time or 10 people at a time. And so
Yeah.
you're kind of the respite. You are the liaison for that dream to come true, and not just
Yeah.
come true, but just skyrocket their dreams and turn it into something almost like a fantasy. So thank you for being able to do
Thank
that.
you. I
Because you could
appreciate
have
it.
quit, you could have quit and you kept going. And so you're here, Mother Hope. So thank you once again. And I look forward to getting it on in
Thank
January and
you.
talking to you
Yeah,
further,
me too.
Laurel. Yeah, this is going to be, it's going to be special. So for those of you who are going to show up, you know what? I think this young lady is going to show out so that 2024 you can show out yourself. Look, thanks, guys, man. Once again, Antowanna is just here, Carpenter, educating us, and I thank you once again. And I look
Thank you.
forward to connecting with you tomorrow. We're going to have a conversation, and I look forward to like getting behind your journey and catapulting you because you are God sent.
Yeah.
And thank you for
Thank
not
you.
quitting on the game. All right.
Thank I appreciate
To
the
all you
opportunity.
guys. Yeah, absolutely. To all of you guys, continue blessings at God's speed. Continue to keep your faith. Close this year out with a bang. And because next year it has your name written in the skies, man. Just own it. It's yours. Until next time, I'm out of here. Peace out,
Bye-bye.
guys. All
Take care.
right. Peace.